What are Jim Crow laws? Jim Crow laws were a breaching tool manifest used to measure, contained, propagated laws, sophistication, criminally foreign influence, internation here and there, using fact treatment nature, needing to cause a breaching organized crime method, perpetually blamed on other and on others as the method to it before modern nations. Then within as the nature of the whole time database solution stack and writing it other than it what actually was, which was worse, came over here with slavery, with internations of trench before our founders' births, which is critical because they carried the campus martius criminally re-engineered as value as a nature, as a correlation nature, able to adapt, led by prayer, not theory, not especially not dishonest theory with physical delusions through time, not like demonstrated. That's why it's important. So when someone says, what's slavery? Organized crime method. Organized crime method. What's the difference between, what's the cause of it? Organized crime method. Organized crime method first. And then with and as that value. Consciously maintaining it blamed on other and on others. That's why it's so critical not to blame. You say, oh, well, it's the area's opinions that sustain it. No. Because everyone's being used as blind indifference to branches maintained areas originally stayed, lie of progression, cover-up natures. Tied to natures of criminal instances, shared international policing areas, justifications in physical delusion relationship that cause negative value nature progression is not only facilitated because it knows it's going to only let that realize through breach precedents. What motivated witch trials? Wasn't drugs? That's what they formally say. They have formal tactical degradation of human opinion natures, criminally foreign influenced. They consciously pretend they're against that with the treatments of the election. That on so many levels, multi-front, and then defending the integrity of the FBI, knowing they have recorded crime rolls with the election. Multi-front, using human fact treatment nature, not by accident. The same organized crime method that had Jim Crow laws, not per prejudice, because there was not science. And there was a science of measuring that there's not science, and building the criminal insidiousness nature roles. Self-cultivated from the base, propagated for this from before our fathers' births. Crazy, crazy, crazy laws against fact treatment nature. Because the method is used in relationship to database. The library measuring not only, they're pretending they're measuring policing of markets and agreements between nations forced to alliances that are fundamental to what was fluent through all nations, reliant there and here upon fake prejudice against the nations they fight, as fact treatment nature, victim predator tools, race blaming on other and on others. That's not the means of science. It's not free market. That's a conscious. See, they also use the term subconscious. They make everyone believe in a physical delusion. It's not the mind. When you're like a teacher of a subject, they go into detail. It's not subconscious. You think about a lot of things at once. So when you want to explain the connections of things, because the science is share an identity, share the value of the great progression, which is a system unto itself too, which has the phenomena of a distinct relationship to the inherent nature of thought, of the complete identity of space, which Allah's name is revealed to teach, ratiocination, which the Trinity is revealed to teach, which 5 pillars of Islam revealed to teach, with the 5 parts of the yin yang revealed to teach, what the three parts of it as value as nature also are revealed to teach. One identity's relationship to itself as a perfect value progression that it will only be. That's why it's as but distinct from. In other words, we're semi-memory. Our semi-memory is complete space nature memory. Per an identity coming semi-through, complete through, because it's complete identity of it, but it's only a little bit more made through the value of life, which is the phenomenon of being closer to the inherent nature of value, which more and more Earth pushes to be the rest of space instead of here. Look at Lethe of Hades, for space nature transfer. Sciences have been criminally re-engineered since some ancient times. Each of the sciences, including especially regarding the law, in relationship to, and then because in relationship to the nature of organized crime that built criminal insidiousness nature roles to per a method to maintain the reactions to lie progression cover-ups, needs to hide that and to defend lie progressions behind the same movements, pretending they believe, their logic believes that right wing and things like that are premises. You know, like left wing, right wing, all that. Like, politics is not politics. It's criminally foreign influence. You see, and it simultaneously areas maintains criminally foreign influence sciences, and it's simultaneously per the method that built this, that where everyone's opinions are also reliant upon other people's lies, and it means to defend ways to hide lies and premise mistreatments by hurting others, motivated for them. And then that progressed. So that's a staged measure. When they said, as victims, everyone is victims for the same, it's fluent through our nations. So it's also sequential in a way, if you, where they kept and keep states and areas opinion natures, knaves, want to hurt to change. And that right what it hides behind. That's right what it doesn't let us show how our branches are hurting. Because everyone's, and how it's juxtaposed private, and how everything is recorded internation, criminally influenced here and foreign influence here and there, all negotiating with terrorism. As for example, where the way they torture our agents of foreign and domestic with Russia. That's behind the Russian treatments, which is connected to Cuban. The Cuban Missile Crisis was connected. Harvard connected with they're abusing the I don't know if there was like a guy who was associated with Castro and Harvard, like with our agencies. There's a Scalora family that's recorded and confessed involved too, pretending they knew me through time, tied to other nations, and them with like some Joey Quest with Harvard. See, this is preventing people by and you see, these are people that pretend they know people per methods, preventing people's voices to counter child predators. You know what I'm saying? So there's Joey Quests, people that use that name, and Scalora with police intercity through time, with crimes with like a Lethe family also recorded. All kinds of doctors on off campus with Harvard Hospital and the Institute of Living, and with the police, with other campuses and stuff like that, and with and all victim predators with their nurses and stuff like that, in relationship to rackets that really were furthering the opioid crisis. Plus, they're faking information and putting it in databases, with undercovers being used to pretend lies, forced to sustain methods and natures of child abusers, even proven overt sexual predators, even proven fake news and undercovers with that, you pretending to use that, recorded using In other words, pretending they're not with that stuff, forcing that nature of things on the youngest kids through time, through rackets recorded against the family members of people tied to databases, and you'd be using them criminally, and of principals. Also recorded from there's a Sean Klotz and Eric Klotz, also recorded and confessed of all kinds of natures of federal crimes. People attaching me to fake conversations through time, and as federal crimes, like pretending about I had a conversation about the CIA, and they weren't repeating what they heard from me because I waited, because I noticed the pattern of people I don't know at all who were saying the same thing after a Lethe family was recorded and confessed non-verbally and verbally involved with forging doctors' names, pretending to have conversations about me with federal cases tied to proven sequence shift in the Ninth Circuit right before the Trade Center attack, and their recorded roles and crime acts with the groups that they pretended I had a conversation with that were defendants in those cases. One they lost, they said I didn't, because it's also recorded tied to them pretending they didn't realize things had been proven in cases because they're covering libraries as depositions with Hartford with related courts criminally involved. Also trying to help, well, because we have them like with Jim Crow laws. Even now, when they ask them what it's about, it's about criminal foreign influence, organized crime. Not a lawyer, not a police form, not a criminal. Boxing. Not military. Boxing. Boxing is about experience. Outside, see, we have experience trained physical delusions, things we can't discern. Russian and America have the same nature of organized crime, that they can't defend their fact treatments and natures of pseudo-positive defenses as victim predators race through areas maintain commonly criminally foreign influenced sciences, each modern nation. That's why it's manifest with the uncharged criminally foreign influence of people stacking. Means from a tactically denatured relationship to nature. Value nature system standards. We can't, for fact treatment with nature racket crime method, the president is not being allowed, each president distinctly and together, not being allowed to demonstrate each area is below freedom standards. We have a space nature relationship that is tactically denatured. Fact treatment nature, that what needs all formal fact treatment nature, law nature is criminally foreign influenced, and blaming on other and self-cultive from a base propagated for this. It needs refugee problem there, and it needs a crazy value nature system forced on people there as fact treatment nature value fake science is there, blaming it on themselves. Puerto Ricans are scared of Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico. Not by accident they have a little island that's with them in the potential to be. You knew something like that was going to come. They weren't ready. Not by accident they have means below the same sides on businesses, the same criminal justice rackets, with and as the only people of the law, with and as overt criminals, recorded with and as the court crimes with the courts, because they're victim predators raised by campuses interconnected by systems originally in progress. Only justifiable as integrity in relationship to needed, appreciated wars and conflict, because everyone's raised guys. That's why they can't discern the shared policing that is with doctors of mental health care, with Russians and Americans using mental diagnosis for recorded shared roles in a database organized crime. That is exploiting areas relationship to it, cultivating each age of fact treatment nature to collusion with all kinds of interbranch investigators raised, further cultivated from and as natures and base propagated predators with evidences reception, with areas and with each of the branches, and with witness fabrication, rackets, sequence shifting, database illusion stacking in these courts, even outside of the records where they show, then they show other after. In other words, no one's watching. This is the original database organized crime method. So they say, so is recorded one that was set up to need to pretend to be against prejudice while measuring and exploiting everyone, blaming it on prejudice, when it was really a logistics set up that by the breaching method that was here since before our founders, that were fact-cheap in nature, slaves by it. So they fail, each science fails. And how? Why? And there's off the campus, there's off the records things, right, facilitated, motivated through our interbranch actors, recorded, maintained victim-predator reactions to what consciously is maintaining the same natures of investigations maintained manifest to and as the value of all areas. That's why we have the same interstate overt criminal enterprises and natures of, even if that is all undercover, facade businesses and means to them, tactically denatured water put underground, same exact styles of houses built, designed by the crazy laws before our founders' birth, with fact-cheap nature slavery laws. They torture whole families, made examples of them with the slavery. If they were found out to be even talking about making infrastructure outside of internation monitored database relationships. I took learn that in notes from Central Connecticut State University. I forgot the instructor's name. There was also juxtaposed recorded crime with the campus, but it is also intercampus facilitated and tied as crimes each year of my life since I was to the same actors. But then, no, so it's recorded how they progress, and then Sammy Vega's still involved because he's involved with some people with a KKK Confederate flag theme, child abuse, sex predator roles, and with and as where and how it's involved with crime methods recorded using their roles with investigations and with kids, and then how they talk to them after that. They're using them as breaching weapons. There's database illusion stacking against each of our agents. News is being directed to fake both sides of news and keep it posted up and pretend they don't realize, and to attaching victims to fake conversations and inclusion after, and holding them as victims, and then inclusion, with evidences, crimes with courts, spreading rumors with the media, pretend that people had relationships with the doctors when they were kids that weren't at all. And then, and mental diagnosis. See, they're putting that out there because they're using, that's tied to the cliques and how they're getting away with having strangers pretend they know people through time and not let reported. And tied, predicate acts recorded. Criminal uses of the name Joe Aiello and of the person tied to that. I don't know if it's all him because it was with a database too. I don't know if it was him that was tied to with Covington Street, which is also recorded, confessed. A whole bunch of girls confessed and demonstrated they were criminally persuaded to give shifting opinions. Shifting witness fabrication, evidence fabrication roles, other natures of crime roles, with all kinds of investigators with CCSU kept to off-campus criminal foreign influences and evidence crime roles, witness crime roles. So they have interbranch areas off-campus histories and needs to hide the same things against strangers. And then they pretend other two. It's also tied them needing to hide how they were doing that, maintaining areas, positions, criminally forward influence. Like with Park Street, with houses on the houses near the corner of Park and New Park Avenue, according to Confessed Evolved. And with Lena's Pizza, recorded Confessed Evolved. All kinds of witness crime roles with courts and with other people in cases, with people that share the name Alicia and Maggie. All kinds of inter-industry crime roles, acts through time. Because that's important, because then now I'm over here needing to counter police recorded with crimes with the kids, retired and standing, that were raised with federal crime acts with them when they were young, tied to why they can't follow the rules now, and they recorded hit one that was proven a child predator, but as one's already tied to ones, and more police with the sex crimes with the kids, verbal, and other natures of them, because they're using that effectively because of the natures of the investigators associated with that, and the natures of the courts associated with that, and the natures of the prison cliques associated with that, with the areas where crime rolls together first. Newtown, Sandy Hook Prison, I think it's Thomas Ward Prison, recorded and involved with their investigators and doctors, and with online policing crimes, systemic evidence crimes, times of crime tied to and as roles with crime methods in courts, database solution stacking, sequence shifting, led up to their motivations for crime roles with the Trade Center, and with a Scalora family, recorded and involved with Wethersfield police, further with crimes with the kids of various natures, and with various natures of agencies and of their family members recorded and confessed criminally involved. Also, Asal Civiola was involved with that, with a Kathy Tansey pretending they had a conversation with me about the CIA, with his business. We're also confessed and recorded, tied to all kinds of other recorded federal crime acts and confessions from other strangers in his area, tied to him through time, and in the relationship to Wethersfield elections crimes, and crimes with the actors with that, tied to a Faenza family, recorded, confessed, involved, and with women, with various natures of roles with the kids, with the men and women investigators in court ties, with sexual forced. See, they're doing this tied to class placements and to acts that they're putting collusion with. Like there's a Debbie Gold that was recorded and confessed, involved with crimes with her father and her family and others, with the Lena's Pizza that pretended to know us, that tricked us into going to meet them, and where they had someone already criminally involved too, one of the former boyfriends of Daryl Sullivan's wife. See, they had that with all these other people that were saying they were boyfriends. And then, in other words, they have that as a fact-cheating racket, where they have emotions and sensibilities, all passions, like criminal and citizen's natures, tied to recorded, mailbox crimes, evidence crimes, in cases, confessions and recorded crimes with judges switching names, directing people to orders not to do things, but then with either with the conscious or unconscious, or not realizing roles, with that being directed anyways. In other words, but per the investigators on and off campus with CCSU and with Covington Street, and they're hiding the name. They're with all these criminal crime acts, hiding the name of the leasing agent, because he was confessed and recorded and involved. But they're not letting me report that through time, by stacking databases with lies, by stacking them with multiple fake police reports for the same things, arresting victims when they try to report it, because the police performs in court interbranch and actors through time recorded with on-off campus drug and sex crime acts and ties to rapists and stuff like that with CCSU. There's a tied to my neighbor too through time. I have one with multi-front confessions tied to the sex predator cliques with the court, and with the rest of them recorded and confessed with the policing of the schools. And with a what the hell is it? So we have also state Whiting forensics place recorded and confessed to violent crimes with Phil Collo, also part of this criminally through time, pretending he knew me behind my back. Also recorded non-verbally and verbally recorded involved with database illusion stack and drug crime rolls with my school. And with houses on, and with crimes, with houses on each side of it, recorded and confessed, various ways. That's why they should have responded to my request for help from them with what turned out to be a judge's family, with evidence crime rolls, with a Fred Grisey, with drug crime rolls with the kids. With people with database illusion stacking rackets and crime methods with the kids progressively used to maintain simultaneously courts pretending care as violence, and with their roles with people tied to them with violence used like times. And then you don't know the people's names too, so you don't know how to counter it. That's another thing they do. They juxtapose the people that you do know, but only from confessions and from roles cultivated with crimes, with evidence gathering in the past. All kinds of evidence gathering, rackets, incompetence, proofs recorded against each of the agencies of each modern nation, reliant upon contrast, to defend their fact treatments. That's what forsates, and that's what needs to have it blamed on prejudice. That needs states and areas maintained through method recorded effective inclusion with other nations insidiously, beasts, forced in the nature of our presidents, President Trump and President Obama distinctly, now let be integrity. You guys, because we don't have real positive being led, only what is true always. Organized crime method, breaching method, made, and then what's blaming it on other is a quality in nature, a fact treatment nature. This is still different to courts and collusion, criminally foreign influence, to all positions, things like that. That's a faith driven, but without science. I'm not saying that. The messengers of the religions are aware, but see, they're not allowed to demonstrate. They're aware in the first part that each of every modern nation came through criminally foreign influence, campus martius, internation sciences, as fact cheap in nature, ill, incapable of appreciation of what they lost, and with how nature is demonstrating negative value nature progressions because of the loss of our value by and as a proper treatment and proper reception of the campus martius, which is everywhere. The Trinity is about this. It's about the relationship, the inherent, active, and the progressive value progression has to itself, as an identity bonding those three natures, as the identity of that inherent gained active. Active means juxtaposed with matter. Life's value, the value of the tree of life. and progressive, which is the value of the tree of life distinctly from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is in relationship to science. This is about the identity of positive. What causes positive or negative value nature progression? This is deciphered though. Jesus says he is the Alpha and he is the Omega. He's also saying this is polarity's nature. Sex is our value to see the longing, which is what? Which is the gaining value that wasn't there before, of the perfect value of progression. Here, or is it forced from here? Lethe of Hades. Because it's going to stay positive onto itself. And it's going to do that by only allowing positive value nature progressions. Or negative value nature progressions in relationship to one course, if we value this. If it's true, we're also noting exceptions, because that's in demonstration of it. The identity and the nature of, that's how our fact-cheaping nature can only explain it. Otherwise, why pretend you're talking science if you're not going to be using what's true always? What's true always is an organized crime, breaching method, was measuring and using all opinions contained, areas and states, and only letting that be in nature, in collusion with other nations, also suit and tie encounters to it, not understanding. But thank God for these counters, not for contrast, but to see the difference between contrast and correlation. We are only see the difference. Our physical body, only a little bit can we control the nature of positive, the range that our bodies need for hot or cold. Only a little bit. At the same time, it's completely beyond our control. The identity and the nature of positive. What it needs, it's gonna cause progress or not. But this is in relationship to ulterior, value nature system that these are tactically ulterior to. So it doesn't work. We're trying to explain through these very, but I forgot what it was. So we claim area as the space nature. This devil knew. This is what these organized crime cartoons are about. This devil knew. See, these guys are going to be the devil, but they're also going to be in the cartoon. They're also being extorted, forced, counter-extorted, because they're all the whole species. The cartoon value nature system is already extorted, just like ours is. When you say that the prejudice was behind the Jim Crow laws, you're a tool for a trick that knew that was using our fact-cheating nature. I mean, not tool. Everyone is a tool. Everyone is. We lost to this. We lost. Every modern nation lost to internation fact-cheating racket, tied to markets positions, tied to its roles with campuses, treatments, fact treatments, maintained with areas and positions, natures of sabotage, correlation nature, needing that not to be understood by each age of fact treatment nature. Not by accident, having had that only let realized through breach precedents manifest with and as the way Jim Crow laws are unchallenged, perfectly effective breaching method tools with the mind, with fact-cheating nature. We lost on these fronts. If someone tries to demonstrate this stuff, it's recorded. It's recorded that there are crime methods upon individual bodies, group bodies, and overall bodies, and with all areas. But if for someone, especially with it, it's easy to point it out. to show recorded extortion acts against people but there's methods of it. But before one can do this, we have recorded interbranch, because what demonstrates it is what's keeping our branches needing to cover up line progressions tied to their roles. It's fake. That's why they pretend they have someone with passions. Oh, that's dictator. Because they know they're just the fake sides, reliant upon that. Because everyone was built consciously blaming on others the real cause of negative value nature progressions. The real cause of interbranch actors needing to hurt each age of fact treatment nature. They weren't trying to hit the kids in the past at schools, but they did all the time because they were trying to teach that way. They can't control the kids like that the same way now, because we have mental health care involved with involved with database illusion stacking, and involved with crime methods, with courts already through time, has them standing life progression, cover up needs, nature's already invested further, needing to hide that for further reasons, because they were victim predators. They're victims of it, and what they're who smelt it, dealt it, and that used too, with. That has the value of everyone's a victim predator, and in other words, what we tell our kids, each age of fact treatment nature, what we tell, especially maturity, what we say about slavery, if it's not about the organized crime breaching method, then it's wrong. And it's about senses with and as justifications of that as a pseudo-positive that can't defend us from what it is using it. Defend it like, because then you're defending treatments of the law as just a beat branch. You see what I'm saying? That to counter this, we have to have quality fact treatment nature, which says that's not science. That's what caused. Not science, interscience. That means organized crime, criminal enterprise treatments were criminally foreign influenced. Then and now, when you ask them what caused Jim Crow laws. President Trump is the closest to being honest, or capable of being honest about that, what caused Jim Crow laws, than anybody so far. Except for the phenomena of some ways, President Obama. Completely, though, with that pseudo-positive democracy, politics, forsaken. In other words, that's not opinions. Opinions are criminally foreign influence. We need that claimed. The news is recorded with fake both sides of news. We need that claimed. There's people stacking recorded criminally foreign influence zoning laws. We need that claimed. There's criminally foreign influence uses of the natures of wealth exploited. We need that change. There's worse than pseudosciences upon each area of the state, only ever realized, blamed on other causes by everyone, because that's the trap that all modern nations fell into. Because it's new, if it tactically denatured the key nations, that will progress. Everyone will forget how to cause positive value nature progressions. Not only would they forget how to cause it, they would stay justifications of roles causing it, and of roles exploiting nature's blaming on others, as facilitated by archetypal organized crime. Now, this is not just theory, because here's where we're going to use, for example, how it is recorded that there were database organized crime, natures of criminal insidiousness, roles with that at the time of our founders, at the time of Jim Crow, modern times. That's what speaks. A criminal insidious nature when it blames poverty, people stacking, the breaching organized crime entrenched here since before our nation's founders on others. And that had database solution stacking, had areas maintained, interscience, rackets, writing other categorically, criminally foreign influenced summary convictions of why things happen in relationship to wars and stuff, hiding what is recorded, tied between Joseph Mengele and organized crime with mental health care that was for psychology that was already entrenched here since before our founders' birth in America, and through their lifetime into ours, recorded with crime methods and roles with courts, database solution stacking, all kinds of methods tied to having done that through time, motivations for it to do and to stay, criminal insidiousness nature, breaching methods, lies, and criminality juxtaposed with within those areas, real causes of all maintained, manifest natures of it, methodically, specifically to maintain criminal uses of the maintained, manifest, only that realized natures of investigations needed, as retreat reactions, as alliances forced, as what is forcing itself fluent through all modern nations. So simple, it heals. Everyone wants to the answer how to answer slavery, because everyone hates it. Everyone hates it. Everyone hates people stacking. Everyone hates the narratives with opinions recorded criminally foreign influence, but no one with the words to do it because no one ever had the science. And worse than that, everyone was consciously maintained not having the science. And if everyone wanted to start tall areas, so we have to reveal science. We say, why is the water underground? You see what I'm saying? When that's a necessary element for evolution, for nature of environment that is worth something. They pack people and stack it, and then this was built for this. Hartford, Connecticut, they built the houses to be divided into 2-3 family houses. Nice houses. And then closer together and stuff like that. They built this to be a fact-cheating nature racket where everyone's blaming each other and others, even ourselves. In other words, each nation, fake identity, these roles posing to positions that never had,